All right, you guys, we're live, so you can go ahead and introduce.
Hello and welcome to the Prestige Hotels and Resorts Curling Classic. My name is Marty Thompson. I'm joined by David Wills from Vernon, British Columbia for the quarterfinal here between Team Sasaki and Team Unche Lee. David, these two teams have played already in this bonspiel, and you can see we're underway here in the first end. Let us know how they stacked up in that other game and what we can look forward to in this one.
Sure. Good morning or good afternoon, Marty. I guess it depends where people are listening. These two teams were in the same pool in the round robin, and they ended up facing each other already once in the process of getting here. And the Korean team, Team Park, prevailed by a score of 6-4. It was a tight game. There didn't seem to be any massive big scoring ends or places where things got out of control, which is classic for both of these teams. They're very disciplined and they tend to play things very conservatively. So not at all a surprise. The Koreans ended up prevailing this time, but I have a feeling that we'll notice that these two teams are very, very evenly matched.
Team Park throwing the Blue Rocks. They have hammer in this first end. You see that nice hit and roll to come in behind cover. They're a little tight. We don't have the advantage of having that overhead camera from this shot here in Vernon, David, but that should be an easy double and something nice to roll into here for Sasaki's team.
Yeah, they've left an opportunity for a double and a roll, which is a very nice opportunity. So we'll see how they do. Getting to know the ice in the first end is always a bit of a challenge. So part of it will just be seeing lines and making sure they hit the rock in the right place.
Just the one other quarterfinal happening at the same time. We have Team Ryan versus Team Kang. It looks like they're just on that sheet there. We can see just adjacent to this one. We'll keep you updated on the scores in that one as it comes down. So you see the hit here, throwing inside out. This is interesting. It might overcurl a little bit here. Let's see.
Well, they're not asking for any sweeping, so that's a good sign that they've read the ice well. And the rock didn't really roll very well. So they're still in good shape, but I think the roll was the idea.
Funnel stone here for the third throwers, and then it skipped stone. So lots of movement already, as you can see in this first end. There's rocks there in the back corner as well. Team Park up to throw again.
And we're also going with the out turn, inside out path, which is totally fine, but it's an interesting choice, especially early in the game. And this is going to get a roll for sure.
Just a smidge too much. It's funny, the inside out shot, sometimes I can't tell if it's maybe something that us Canadians have been conditioned to not want to throw and are scared to throw, but we find when we play teams that are not from our neck of the woods, they'll throw that all day and they'll make it all day. And it's like, right, yeah, this is something that you can just throw and just make. I wonder if we maybe just we're predisposed to avoid throwing that, perhaps because we've had bad ice for a long time.
But, well, yeah, I think you're right.
You know what I mean, though.
I can still remember the early days of my curling when I used to get mad at my skip who asked me to throw, the outside in shot, because that meant that the broom was out wide, and I always felt I had a better chance of being accurate if I was closer to the center.
Right.
With my slide, it just felt more comfortable. But you're right, the amount of curl is a factor, and traditionally, we think of the curl being much, much less from the outside in than from the inside out. And so we're trying to just simplify things by having a rock that goes a little straighter. This one over curled, and they have made the takeout. The roll has gone just a bit too far. So we're back to an empty house with a nice center line guard, almost like we're playing mixed doubles now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're back in Martinsville in Saskatchewan, the other bonspiel that's on this platform taking place this weekend. So the draw in behind is there. Should be able to put a little bit of pressure on here if they're able to just come around this guard just right.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a big opportunity if you can hide something at this point in the end. That it makes life really difficult for the opposing skip.
And of course, Team Blue, Team Park, they have last rock advantage here. So coming around, potential for a deuce if they can make this just right and potentially force an error out of Team Sasaki. So a clutch draw here from the fourth. Not a ton of ice on this. It's certainly curling not as much as it is in Martinsville this weekend, obviously with doubles, and having a little bit more curlier ice is preferred by some. This is certainly a little bit straighter considering where that broom is that we see there.
Yeah, noticing the same thing. It also may be a function of the way the player is releasing. If there's a high rotation, it may not curl quite as much. They also have a tendency at this level to rely very heavily on the strength of their sweepers, and these girls can keep a rock straight if necessary. So this one's definitely going by the guard by a mile, so we're in good shape that way. But how deep?
All three sweepers in there to try to get some paint, and it falls just short of that. So the table's turned in this end. Team Sasaki able to come around and, you know, they see how tight that ice there is. It looks like about middle 8. If you can over curl a little bit, Team Park's going to be in trouble.
That was a big opportunity and to come up short. Again, the first end blues where you're adjusting to the speed of the ice a little bit, maybe part of it. But we'll see how they do it. The yellow rocks can, if they can bury just a maybe top button, they've got two guards now effectively. So here we go.
Mary Ogahara throwing the final stone here for this team in the first end here in Vernon. Real nice chance to come around. Another shot where the sweepers are right on it.
There's a lot of caution and a lot of over sweeping, which is nice to see. It means that she's definitely thrown it with a little bit of weight. Unfortunately, it's a heavy shot. She will be in the rings, I think. Did that drift all the way out the back? Not quite.
Well, so now what does Blue see here? Is that wick there? Potentially.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this is the final shot of the end.
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
And so they're talking about whether they want to blank. Because if they come around and just tick that yellow out and roll out, then they've just managed to blank, and that may be in their favor. Or they're looking at the split where they could split the blue and try and score 2. Interesting idea.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's there because the shooter doesn't have to roll on by very much. That rock at the back is barely biting.
It's tough in this case for tolerance for weight. Like, you know, you'd almost want to throw something like a, you know, if you throw like a like close to like backline or Hackett, if you just manage to sail past that blue, you might actually still get away with a blank if it managed to pick that yellow rock out at the back with that softer weight. So, yeah, lots to discuss about just considering where these rocks are located. It doesn't need to be perfect to get to, but yeah, it's still got to be.
Well, if they throw a heavy draw and try to tick the blue on the way by to move it onto the house, and if it doesn't, it just draws around, comes back to the yellow, and I guess as a backup plan, they know at least that they should get 1. I think it looks like based on where the broom is that they're going to throw a little more weight than I just suggested. This has got to be somewhere in the hack to board range, and you want to clip the blue rock by about a quarter, or even a little more than a quarter of the rock.
Okay, final stone for this Korean team, Team Park here in Vernon. In the first end, chance to take 2. Not a bad start at all if they can manage to make this clutch wick. Keeping this rock out, you can see it's maybe curling a little bit more than they thought. You're close to that quarter, like you said, David. Let's see if they can make this.
We've got to roll the shooter. I think it's going to work. Lovely.
That is a fantastic shot. It's just got to come back a little bit. It fell out of the hair. Wow. Oh. Did not see that coming, David. It did not have that hook that you saw.
Based on what I saw, and they didn't even measure, so I guess it was definitely off the rings. That's a shame.
A fantastic attempt, as you can see, quite close for that team. We'll be right back from Vernon.
You make moments like these possible.
Going to say Lee.
Hello and welcome back to the Prestige Hotels and Resorts Curling Classic. My name is Marty Thompson. I'm joined by David Wills here from Vernon. Team Sasaki versus Team Lee or Team Park. And David, we were just talking off air briefly there about that last shot in the first end and how, you know, you mentioned it's quite refreshing to see these teams pretty early in the season. I know the seasons can certainly vary for folks that are in Japan and Korea specifically, but you know, this early in the cycle, let's say, and still attempting those kinds of shots and that type of high level execution, even though it didn't come off for them, you can tell it was quite close.
Yeah, it's a great point. You know, when you're trying a shot that is that challenging, a lot of times, you know, you'll say things like, well, we're in the first end, we don't know the ice well enough, can we manage? The other thing is that at certain points of the year, you know, you tend to have a lot of pressure on you. So maybe this is an opportunity to play a shot like that. You don't get a chance to play them very often. As a result, you want to give it a try. So it was really great to see that they went ahead and did it. I really thought the shot was made as it was coming towards the contact point. It looked wonderful. And then somehow the shooter just drifted far enough outside the rings that it didn't count. So that was a shame. But good for them for trying.
Yeah, like you said, it was execution. You can't quite beat how that was done. We were just saying too, like, could you hit that rock thinner? And with the weight you were throwing, which was probably what you should have thrown at it anyways, it would have skated out the house. It's
sure.
Yeah, it was quite close. It was quite close.
Well, clearly she needed to hit 1 millimeter more. You know.
How dare you? How could you possibly not do that?
Yeah, but it's interesting. You mentioned the times of the seasons and things. You know, the Korean program doesn't stop. There is really no off season. It's one of the things that I learned about in working with some teams that I've seen from different parts of the world, and you know, I found it amazing to hear, oh, our national championship is in June or something. I said, what do you mean in June? There's no curling in June. And sure enough, you know, they're playing all year. There's no point of stoppage for them. We have an off season here, which is getting shorter for sure.
Yeah.
But at least we have something.
Yeah. What do you make of that kind of maybe the need for an off season for some folks, or, you know, I think a lot of players here in Canada have been pretty forthcoming about, you know, maybe burnout isn't the right word, but just how intense this can be if this is at this level. You know, it's not essentially your profession, but you're trying to make it work, and it is a lot of commitment. But what do you make of having that kind of like no off season, curl all the way through? Certain areas will definitely be a little bit more intense in terms of your playing, but how do you sort of see that equating to how Canadians have adapted to it, and Americans to a certain extent as well?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I mean, I think there's advantages to both systems, and it depends on what you're used to. You know, if I talk to somebody and they say, you're on the ice 3 days a week in the middle of the summer, does that, you know, how does that make you feel? Or do you feel that's a bit strange? And they say, no, it's just, that's what I do. That's the way things are, and I curl, and that's what I do. We do tend to see a lot of sort of, I guess, specialization where people are dedicated exclusively to one sport. Whereas in Canada, certainly, you know, for me growing up, there were seasons where you did one sport and then you switched to something else, and you looked forward to it most of the time. So to take that away from somebody who's used to saying, oh, I like to play golf in June, or I like to play tennis, or whatever it might be, you don't want to lose that. So I think that both models work. It comes down to a little bit to what you like and what you're used to. It's produced some great results, I'll say that. I mean, the Korean women right now are the reigning Pan-Continental champions, and coming back again, the same team, Team Gim won, their national championship, so they're coming back to Lacombe in the end of this month to play and represent their country again. So something's working.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it's if you were going to redraw the lines today without any of the sort of preconceptions of, curling being predominantly a winter sport in this country, it would be interesting to see if the way they have in the U.S., where folks down in Arizona, they want to curl in the wintertime or in the summertime because it's so hot outside.
Well, that's it. I mean,
it's funny like that. If you redraw the lines, it'd be interesting to see how folks would come to the sport without any of those preconceptions. But there is also, it's also part of Curling Canada's, I know we took the same course there with the accredited curling professionals program, but it's part of their methodology as well to ensure that kids have the ability to play as they're developing, play other sports, and because there's value added in that as well. So
and that's sometimes how you find great candidates for a sport like curling, where you run into an athlete that's got wonderful general sports skills, their coordination, their strength, their flexibility, and they say, you would be a great curler. Why don't you give this a whirl? And then they become converted. It definitely is a factor. One of the biggest things I noticed with younger curlers was if you ever found somebody who was a volleyball player, the core strength and leg strength of a volleyball player was wonderful for curling. So you got these people out on the ice who are so stable and could slide and move beautifully on the ice. So it's a big factor.
Oh, interesting. Well, switching back to the game, anyways, this is Chad, but no, it's good.
We've had several rocks go by, and hopefully everybody is still enjoying the game.
We could talk about the rock positions all day. That gets a little boring. So I'm glad we're talking about something else. So, opportunity here for Team Sasaki. This is a little up though, David? Let's see if we can carve this over.
It needs to curl a little bit, but if they can hit and just provide a little bit of cover for their own rock, they're in really great shape. Yeah.
That was a fantastic sweep from Ogihara there on the carve. That moved quite a bit. Chance to get some yellow granite out of the way here, I guess, David. It's not the best set for blue currently.
Well, there's a double there, but sadly, if they make a double with weight, the shooter might not hang around. But at the very least, they've got to start cleaning up some of this yellow. As you say, the yellow granite is starting to build up in the house. This is fourth rock at the end for the Koreans, so they have to make sure that they take control. There you go. Another chance for a hit and roll.
Yeah, exactly. You've seen the line, you can just play it a hair tighter. Yeah, it's difficult they weren't able to pick that one off the top four. That would have really helped, even if it moved it sideways a little bit, because now a chance to really line them up and potentially force Team Park to some kind of run back or something. I don't know if they make this right, what exactly you do, but
it's going to depend where it stops. If it's a dead straight, lined up double, then it's definitely a possibility. The advantage of the run back idea is that it also removes the center line guard, which at this point is a big obstacle. But we'll have to see how this roll goes. It's first things first. We have to get the roll into the right spot.
Vice stones here for Team Yellow, Team Sasaki out of Japan. Maybe a little less weight than the first hit and roll attempt here. Still carving it over. See if you can get just across the face. That's an unfortunate miss, but they're still sitting a couple. Maybe three, I just can't quite tell.
No,
so yeah,
two yellow now, and then I think the blue stone is the third best, I think. Yeah, it's not terrible, but it does leave the center wide open now. There was a little bit of restricted access to the center. Now we have a completely different view.
Yeah, good chance to draw in here or try to attack these yellow rocks in some capacity.
It looks as if they're playing a hit, and maybe even a double on the back yellow, and then they will still have an opening through the middle, but they'll have removed a little bit of the yellow strength. Yeah, there's definitely weight on this rock.
Youbeen Park with quite a bit of weight on this hit. See, it's falling out on them just a little bit. Try to bring this back. Get a nice roll potentially.
And a double. Yep.
Very nice double there from this team from Korea, really saving a bit of face in this end, because now it's up to, some kind of little hit and roll here for Team Yellow to try to set this up a little bit better, I guess. Try to get one fully buried underneath and get ready for skip stones and potentially another double takeout attempt, most likely here on these Yellows.
Well, the two back-end players, the third and the skip, are very well connected on this team, and they're both very capable throwers. It's kind of interesting. I noticed that that area is now throwing skip rocks. However, in the past, Honoka Sasaki, the actual name of the team and the skip of the team, has been throwing skip rocks. So they're both able to manage a really wide range of things, and there's a ton of confidence. So we're looking at an attempt to hit and roll. She's definitely not throwing as much weight, so we'll see how that works.
Yeah, something soft just to tuck under the Yellows. The key is to get by that yellow rock and you can get a pretty big roll out of this. Let's see where this goes. And they're lined up for that yellow double if it's what they're looking for. I think they are. So good chance to really get out of this end if you make this double, facing 3 at one point. A nice little turnaround here from Team Park if they can execute this one.
Yeah, they're in pretty good shape. A nose hit on the top yellow will produce a double and leave them lying 2, which is a nice place to be when you don't have hammer. So,
exactly. Just a quick update from the other sheet there to the right of our screen there just now. The other quarterfinal between Kristen Ryan and Bobe Kang. That was a blank in the first end. Ryan retains hammer in the second from Maple Ridge, BC. So a local game-ish for them.
Yeah, it's nice to see teams from the area. When you see these events, they do attract teams from all over the world, which is fantastic. But it's also nice to see, 2 or 3 teams that might not be able to travel as much due to time or budget issues, and then they get a chance to come into an event like this and play some really great teams.
Show up and compete for sure. And Shay Lee here with this hit. See if we can get a nose-ish, and they will miss the double. Big roll. Now what's the play here for Sasaki? It's the draw, I guess.
I think she just draws, because she's lying shot now. She could throw something that sort of helps to guard her back shot, but it ultimately will leave a chance for a double. You don't want to leave Team Park a chance for a double on their last shot. So top button behind the guard looks like a great call.
First of 2 skip stones here from Ogihara. I'll attempt to just get that draw weight here. A little poke on the release. I don't want to get it too far out, but it looks like okay.
Yeah, we're not worried about the guard at this point. We're just worried about making sure that it's deep enough.
It's quite the sweep. Some really good action on these 2 sweepers, and that is going to be just about perfect.
Very nice.
Great draw there into the top 4.
Just not even quite into the 4-foot, but obviously now making life difficult. I think the only option left to Team Park is to draw. I mean, they could technically hit the back rock just to get rid of something, but if they want to threaten to score or to steal, they really have to make sure that they are shot rock. It looks like they're going to play the hit and roll.
Yeah, they're eyeing up just kind of that half rock come across and get something.
Yeah. No, the play on the yellow, basically removing any chance of scoring with that rock, and then hoping to be shot rock across the back, in the center, behind that lovely line of rocks that's forming down the center line. So let's just see if we can make it happen.
Lee, final stone here. in the second end for this team from Korea. Another inside-out hit. Sweepers on it right away, trying to keep this straight. Well, you need to make contact for one. It looks like it's curling quite a bit. Will they get past? Might.
Yep.
And they do manage to just nose that. So an attempt here for Sasaki to get 2 out of this end.
Now is blue shot?
It might be only just. So they've got to play that same line. But
basically the same shot they just saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. With maybe a hair more weight. That's interesting. They did end up being shot rock, but just by a bit, because they were hoping, I think, to roll the blue. The Korean team was hoping to roll under. All right.
Here's Ari Gahara with the inside-out hit. We've seen enough inside-out shots at this point to be comfortable enough to see what it's going to do. Final stone here in the second end. A chance to score 2 points, take the lead here in Vernon in this quarterfinal.
Taking a little more ice, or at least released it with a little more. Now they've got to work hard, the Sweepers, to get by this guard.
That looks like it's curling quite a bit. Can they get by there? They can't. Oh goodness, yeah, that I'm not sure if that was exactly the weight they wanted to call, but that did curl a ton compared to the one we saw previously. Now we will just quickly see, looks like it was the yellow. So
I don't know, they didn't seem to be talking about it much, so everybody thought they knew. I thought, looks like they put a blue rock into the hack, so it looks as if it was the blue stone scoring 1.
Wow, okay, so it might have been a steal 1. We'll check back when we get back from commercial about that. We'll be right back here from Vernon.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Welcome back to the Prestige Hotels and Resorts Curling Classic. My name is Marty. I'm joined by David Willis here in Vernon. The Korean team versus the Japanese team here in Team Sasaki for Japan and Team Park. The Korean side, and the Koreans up to a 2-0 lead after making that nice little hit and roll. And we get confirmation there on the scoreboard. Appreciate that just as I'm talking about it, which thank you for that. Yeah, that's quite a good result for this blue team that was, again, facing that kind of that ugly little stagger that was in the rings, and ended up being some solid execution at the end that got them a valuable point.
It was a well set up end to make your simple 2 for Team Sasaki, but then execution let them down a little bit at the end where they had a chance. I think a fairly simple shot that they just misjudged. And now the Korean team, Team Park, has started off the end in a fairly aggressive style, saying, okay, we're going to start putting things in the house, and you can throw up your guards, and we're going to keep things in the center. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. We basically had a similar end last end, where there was central line guards and things in the house, and it ended up, resulting in a steal. So Team Park's happy to continue that way.
Yeah, it was Sasaki ended up going towards the center, and sometimes that can work, especially early on. in the game, sometimes, as we have learned from calling doubles
Mm-hmm,
this
mm-hmm.
weekend as well, sometimes that center line guard is fundamentally can be more dangerous than having those rocks out to the wings. But yeah, sometimes you play with a little bit of fire going down the middle. And you see if we just get this rock over. Nice spacing on these blues if that can stay nice and high, and it does. That's a pretty good set here for Team Park. And
Absolutely,
looks like
yeah.
yellow will come back around on the corner.
So we're playing textbook here, and then with the 5-rock rule, we can't remove things just yet in the free guard zone. Especially there's right on the line, center line as well. So beautifully placed.
I swear I've seen this diagram a few times, Dave.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then,
classic. Center line. Center line, corner guard, come around. Well, I was going to say come around. This one was, instead of center guard come around, it was come around center guard, but same concept. Yeah.
So a bit of, I can't tell if it was miscommunication on the sweepers there, just keeping it straight, maybe worried about weight over line and then letting the carve happen. So it might be just, yeah, that's exactly what happened. So it was maybe a little less weight than they thought, and it is pretty well buried, but yeah, good sweeping communication there to try to fix that up. And yeah, okay, this is an interesting opportunity for Team Park. Looks like they're maybe going to try to go at yellow, and maybe that's not the best call yet. You can do that next time.
I think they would have done more about the yellow rock had it been shot, but to me, as far as I can tell from the screen, the blue team is still shot rock.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then they can continue to be aggressive and try to get lie 2. So let's see how they do. This looks like the call. They're just saying draw the 4-foot, draw the button, and we'll have a nice line down the center.
Here comes the draw in behind here for Team Park. Second stone's coming. Keeping this one somewhat straight just to make sure they can just dive behind that second blue as we see it. And
looks like she's come up a little light.
Yeah, weight wasn't the best. Line was probably ultimately pretty good. Now, that spot is not the worst. They are second shot.
Yeah, they're line 2. The question is, do we have to worry about those two, or can we start? Well, I was going to say, can we start playing behind them, using them effectively as guards? But it looks like we're going to start taking away the center line guard. So this process starts and tries to open up everything.
Yeah, the beauty about where that blue rock ended up is now that shot stone, the one that's first shot, is now 2 shots away from being removed entirely. And really aggressive play calling here from Park to remove this and try to get a big roll. I like this. Interesting. She seemed like she wanted the roll right to come across center, David. I could be wrong, but that would be, that's a classic 2-for-1 curling shot.
Well, I think she started getting questions from her team about whether or not it would be a little bit too tight to the 2 blues and therefore make them vulnerable. So now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if they've changed the call or not. No, by the weight. If it seems down, well, it's still the hit and roll. They're trying to hit the yellow guard and roll back toward the center.
It looks like a solid weight here, and will not get as big of a roll as they wanted. They might double these out.
Well, that works too.
That was maybe the play call to begin with, and both those fantastic ideas rather, and that's a great execution. So now Sasaki needs to get a little creative.
Well, she wants to have something behind that corner guard, no matter what the color is. The spot on the side is definitely the goal, but she's going to try and do it by doing a hit and roll. So getting rid of a blue and rolling over to the side.
So here comes the rock. Curious on an over curl what that shape looks like, and it will kind of get staggered there.
No roll, but very hard to remove. I think a good knock on the yellow right on the nose will take care of it, but also lose the blue as well. So a little tap on the hip We have to start to watch these skip signals so we can understand when she throws this weight. I originally thought that we could count on skips to use a completely similar series of signals across the world, and I've suddenly realized, no, different skips signal in different ways, so you never really know until you watch the shot.
You said suddenly you noticed that, or
well,
that...
but yeah, over time, I mean, this whole originally there was, I mean, certainly in Canada at least, there was a series of signals that in theory we all used, that we all understood. But not anymore. No. And that's fine. That's fine. I mean, within your team, it's like, if you talk about teams that use signals like football teams or whatever, they can have different systems for talking to each other. As long as they understand within the team, nobody else really matters.
Yeah, the tap of the hand at club level, it's just kind of shrug. That could be anything. That could literally be peel. I have to ask. I have to clarify. You know.
Yeah, when I skip my guys on Monday night, we only have 2 hit weights. There's what I call board and what I call hack, and I have 2 signals for those, and that's all there is. And then each one of them has his own version of those, and it works well because I know, okay, who's in the hack? Okay, this guy, okay, his board is this, and I know where to put the broom. So it works well. Yeah, but there's a little bit bigger series in the more sophisticated teams. So. Yeah, my recipe is, if I ask you for board, it means don't be light, and if I ask you for hack, it means don't be heavy. Yeah. And that's it. Try to keep it simple.
It's about as good as you can get at club level when you're you're just trying to execute the shot and keep things. That's a great way of thinking of it.
They know what I want, and I know what they're going to deliver. So in theory, it works. there's the old execution part, but Yeah.
So that one comes around not buried. Looks like Park is going to try to poke it and try to get at it, and it might be good if they did that. Like that might be a decent little setup if they hit this right.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's better to hit it on the nose and stay hidden, or whether they want to hit it and come across and sort of expose. The one thing that they're trying to prevent is that the Yellow Rocks hide behind that corner, so I think they're probably going to try to roll this. That'd be my guess, as long as it stays in the rings.
Carving this to get a bit of movement so they can actually touch a little bit of that Yellow Rock. Looks like it is skating. Just nudge it, and just nudge it enough that they fall out of play. So interesting setup here for Team Sasaki as they try to maybe look for a deuce. I don't know.
Hit and roll, I think. They definitely want to remove the blue because then they keep the option of a blank end open. And they definitely will try to just get underneath that corner guard, use it to their advantage. Tight broom, so probably a little bit of weight coming on this.
Chance for something. That's a roll here.
Nope, I was wrong.
Yeah,
They're just drawing. Based on where the broom was, I thought we were hitting. I really did. My logic has been completely dismissed. Oh well.
That's going to come all the way back around. How far will this roll to the back? And it might be shot. Hard to tell from this angle, but certainly close.
They're looking.
It looks like it might be just blue.
Oh.
At least that's what one member of a totally unbiased party in this argument has sort of alluded to there with that little tap of the blue rock. But
yeah, so we're looking at options, very aggressive options, a freeze, which I think you always have a person on the team who's a very aggressive thinker and says, let's do this, come on, go for the throat. But the conservative option would be to to try and do what they did last shot, which is just to come down and tap it back and either sit right behind the guard or even roll back toward the center. They also have another option, which I don't think they're even thinking about, which would be to split the blue with the shooter and have two that are sort of separated in, say, the top 8 foot. But that's a more demanding shot. Looks like they're playing the freeze, or I guess tap, back on the yellow behind the guard. They want to make sure for sure that that yellow is not shot rock. And the one way to do it would be to move it at least an inch. So this will be the first skip rock, I believe, for the Koreans. Moon-Chae Lee throwing an out turn.
And just coming around, yeah.
Yep, coming around the corner guard. Sweepers are quick to jump.
Still a little bit of movement on this.
Yep, the line looks great. Just a question of if they can get it back far enough.
And that is quite good.
Lovely shot, yeah. Now blue is definitely lying 2, so that's the other thing. That top blue is definitely now better than the yellow.
Blue continues to put pressure on in this game. Sasaki looking for a skip's deuce here. In the third, they're down 2-0. And yeah, some great shot making from Team Park. Holy cow, that is just a great spot for that blue rock.
So essentially, the only option that Eddie has now is to come down and sit right on the blue. It's essentially the same shot again as we just saw, and with Moon-Chae is just to throw it down and freeze on the corner. And it's all about throwing the right line, but then also having your sweepers manage it all the way down.
And a quick update from the other sheet here. Kristen Ryan took 1 in the second, and they're up 1-0 over Team Kang. And that game is now in the third, and Kang with the hammer. Back to our feature sheet. The come around here for Sasaki.
Line looks really good.
Been some fantastic sweeping on this team. Ooh, over curling a little bit on them, and that is going to come up short. So blue now sitting 1, 2, and a draw to the 4 makes that 3. That's the call.
Yep.
Wow, Team Park with a fantastic opportunity again to continue to put pressure on Sasaki.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, that one was a simple case of insufficient weight, and as soon as you get that, it over curls. They did get it by the guard, which was admirable, but it over curled in the end and didn't really even compete with either of the blue rocks to be second or shot, or even second shot, so that's a shame. So now we have the opportunity to draw around the center, top of the button, and that will put enormous pressure on Team Sasaki for their final. They're having a chat, and I really don't know why. I wonder whether they're talking about whether they should throw the in turn or the out turn, or...
Might have just been on this. Oh, they're signaling something here to stick on the broom. Yeah, I think they are. You're right. They're debating which side maybe. It's tough where the tolerance is just to sort of stick a little bit wide. You know, like if you're anywhere along that 4-foot path, you know, you might give her some kind of like hit and stick or something. But you know, tolerance would be to just be showing a little bit behind that rock there that's in the top 12. You don't really want to wreck on it, I guess. But anyways, final stone here for Team Park in this third end. They don't have hammer, but they're sitting 2. Chance to sit 3 with this draw.
Yeah, the only thing I would have said, as you say, tolerance-wise, was just making sure you're not heavy. If you come to the back of the 4-foot and you give them something to throw to, that's the only real danger. But this is not happening because the sweepers have figured out that it's not going to be heavy, so they're working. And left it exposed, interestingly.
Yeah, there's something there. Maybe that was just it was just a little bit wider than they wanted, but this puts Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So Ogihara is going to just try to hit and stick on that blue rock to score the 1 and get out of this end unscathed, hitting it at 3.
Makes for an easy decision when you have that situation. Simply hit and stick around. You can even afford to roll towards the center, I suppose, but and there is, this is what we are starting to call in our classic terminology a force. They are a force to take 1, which is what the goal is, I suppose, for the team without hammer, and then take the hammer back. So it looks like Team Park has had an amazing end yet again.
Okay, final stone here in the third end. Team Sasaki looking for that hit and roll. Staying a little wide on them right now. That's okay.
Oh, this looks great.
And it comes in. Lovely shot. Again, with the pressure on. Shooting against 3. Ogihara, nice little stretch of the shoulders there. Maybe a little relieved to make that one. Score is now 2-1 for Team Park. They have the hammer going into the fourth end. We will be right back here from Vernon.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Like a difficult. Anyways. Hello, welcome back to Vernon here. The score is 2-1 for Team Park. They have hammer, and they've been playing quite well here, David. You were just saying there just briefly in the break, some great execution from this team, and Team Sasaki has really not had a lot to shoot at, especially when her fourth Ogihara comes up.
No, you're right. I mean, she's played a good end in terms of managing to keep the rocks and keep their opponent under pressure. It's always nice when you feel like you're calling the shots or you're taking the initiative, and your opponent is simply having to try and respond and keep up. It's a good recipe. So far things have gone well. After the centerline guard has come up, Youbeen Park has actually gone with the aggressive option. Instead of throwing a corner guard, she's going straight behind. So this is a very aggressive decision to go with that right off the bat.
Youbeen Park has been playing quite well. This entire spiel, 4-1 through pool play. That's ranked for best amongst both pools there. And as you mentioned, had some good games against Sasaki as well. They've played well. They've played well, so they certainly deserve this opportunity in the quarterfinal. Tennessee move on and win this spiel here as the weekend continues.
Yeah, we have a very nice little draw played again by Team Park to get things going aggressively, and the Japanese are responding with a shot where they're just going to try and put one right on top of the shot rock in the forefoot. They can't remove the centerline guard yet, but if they put a rock in place behind, in theory, when they do get a chance to remove the centerline guard, they're going to have some great options. But this is turning into an end just like mixed doubles. So we're watching this attempt to freeze essentially onto the nose, and it looks beautiful.
That is great execution there. That's a tough shot to make, and it's well done. Shrinking the scoring area to a certain extent, sort of keeping things in control and really controlling the middle part of the house. That's fantastic.
It looks as if we're adding another one to the pile. This is going to be very interesting once we start removing guards to see what will all end up happening. Great shooting, though. Boy, everybody is playing so well.
Yeah, they're reading the ice quite well here. Fourth end, be prepared for a little bit of anarchy, it looks like, with how this house is going to be set up. This one's coming in quite nice, too, for another stagger. Jeez Louise. Look at that.
It's nice when your front end, when you're a skip, if your front end can throw those shots. You said, just put it here, okay, and away we go. So they still can't remove anything yet, at least not the center guard, but they're coming in yet again. And I think the idea will be to hit it with enough force to kind of jiggle things around and cause some separation.
Sasaki's had a pretty good spiel as well. They've 3-2 in the round robin. The 2 losses came against Park, as we mentioned, and Reese Hansen of BC, one of the select group of BC teams here.
Yeah, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's this model for this particular event is there's 2 pools, and the top teams got an immediate berth to the semifinals, and then the second and third place teams are playing crisscross, second versus third. Oh, no, that's not true, because both of these teams were in the same pool, weren't they?
Yes, technically speaking. They might get some sort of bye. Yeah, there must be some sort of bye system in it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's interesting, because there's already 2 teams that are in the quarterfinals waiting, or excuse me, in the semifinals that are waiting for the winners of these. They're waiting for the winners of these 2 games.
2 rinks out of Beijing and Team Wang and Team Zhang. So here comes the run back from Team Park. Now, is there a good enough shape to make this nice? They are going to remove their 1 rock, but they're probably sitting shot from what we can see on that bluestone, but it's malleable situation here for Sasaki as she eyes up what they can do next.
It's a little replay coming in here. Nose hit, which worked out quite nicely and left blue lying in the top of the house behind cover. The question is, whose shot? And even if blue's not shot, that was a very useful shot in terms of just opening things up and creating possibilities.
You can see Sasaki still eyeing this up even as we checked out that replay. So, yeah, what do you see here, David, and see the team going to come down and have a chat with it? It depends how aggressive you want to be on this shot, right? You could play that, but that's awfully aggressive.
Yeah, they are talking about the idea of coming, I guess, trying to just come by the guard, just barely getting by the guard, and hitting their own yellow into the blue and driving the blue back, hopefully fairly far, if not all the way through the house. That will obviously remove all the blues, but then what will it leave in terms of opportunities? For example, a hit and roll off the yellow in the 8-foot under cover could be deadly. So you have to kind of be careful. Maybe it would be better to be the first one to get to the top of the button, just to draw.
Right, yeah.
And that might be strategically a little better than playing the attack. At the same time, it'd be nice to take initiative. The Team Sasaki has had a little trouble getting a little bit of control. They seem to be responding all the time rather than taking the initiative. So they have to make the most of the opportunity.
Also potentially looking at just kind of, they're eyeing up maybe that corner freeze on the yellow rock, or like coming close to it. The only problem with that is, like you mentioned, that draw to the 4-foot is going to be there on either side. Even if you have this kind of hit and roll over and you're sitting 4, boy, could they just sink one or hit one in behind. So that is the call, is to just try to come right into the 4-foot. I like this. Do you like this, David?
I do. One of the things I often, if I'm on the ball and I'm playing, I remember, I ask myself, what would my opponent like to do here? And can I get in the way? And so this case, I think they realized that Team Park would love to throw a draw to the top of the button. And so the best way to prevent that is to throw one before them, so there's no way there. So here's hoping they can get the line and the weight right on this. The sweepers are indicating a little bit heavy, or at least that there's enough weight. I don't know if there is.
A little bit of no man's land here. A little wick potentially off these yellows. No, it'll come all the way through. And it will be just protruding out to the left-hand side of our screen as we see it here, David. But that's not a bad spot for that yellow rock. It could potentially force a miss out of this team park that they have not had many misses today. There's a chance for that.
Yeah, you're looking at if they do hit the yellow that they just threw, they won't be able to sort of stick around unless they try to come at it from a different angle. Here we go. We're starting to look at the run back, which could be very interesting.
Well, a couple ways you can miss this as well, eh? Team park.
And you want to open up the center. So she's trying to hit it on some kind of angle and theoretically get rid of something yellow in the house. So here we go.
So the run back's on the way. Gonna carve it over just to get a piece. Looks like these hits are maybe just falling a little bit on it, eh? Like it's you play a little bit of weight, and you can even see it from this angle. I know we're not in Vernon. It's hard to make too many judges on weight and line and how the ice is reacting, but it does seem to be falling. Like that.
Totally,
That was
agree.
just kind of just not in the way they were expecting, for sure.
No, I mean that almost ended up looking like a peel, and I don't think that was the goal at all. I think they wanted that rock they were driving back to be in the house somewhere to hit something, which is a bit of a strange outcome. However, things are still wide open now, which means that Team Sasaki has to be very careful.
So putting the guard back up here for Team Sasaki.
Maybe even a hair better coverage for that little draw they threw.
Yep.
There's no more free guard zone, no ticks, so they have to basically put this exactly where they want. Just to curl a mile.
Here comes the throw from Sasaki herself. Looks like it's judgment on the sweepers here to put this in the right spot, and they do want it a little bit deeper, like right up to that one. And that's a pretty good line, it looks like.
Yeah, actually that turned out beautifully. I'm surprised it curled as much as it did at the end. She obviously has read the ice well. That was a great result.
So now it's pretty simple for Team Park. You kind of have to make this hit and roll, or at least it seems like it, first. Try to sink one in there. But even if you do, and you don't get a big roll, there's a chance they could do yellow, yellow, blue, blue, depending where the shooter rolls.
I mean, there's definitely a few in-off type hits, but they're asking themselves if they can hit the yellow rock at the top of the 8-foot. There's not much of it showing, maybe half, a little less than half. That would be ideal, but they're asking themselves if they can actually make that a little angle type hit. The risk they run is if it doesn't curl properly and they clip their own blue, they're going to be in big trouble. There's starting to see a lot of yellow in the house. There's 5 rocks now, so it's time to take care and make sure you don't leave a nice opportunity.
So they're also eyeing up just on the right-hand side of our screen, right there, hitting the rock right where the broom goes, because there's a couple ways you could miss that shot. If you're awfully thin, you could just slash it and come right down to the yellow at the top 4, or maybe push that blue out to the side, or if you hit it flat, you might have something you could. There's a couple ways you could make this one. Now, looks like maybe they're trying to hit that rock at the outside and try the double.
Yeah, I mean, you lose your shooter if you do that, and I'm more in favor of leaving a blue rock around. Because it could ultimately be something you could use later on. But
so something they could do is play a soft weight and hit that one, like just throw something that's not a ton of weight and hit right where that broom is there on that yellow rock, because then you could maybe promote that blue rock slightly and then also have another blue rock, your shooter sort of roll a little bit. You would give Sasaki, the yellow team, a chance to double them out, but at least you're forcing them to do something. Because otherwise, I don't know if you hit and roll, or if you try to do the slash or something, yellow has a pretty easy shot to get rid of this one, and Yeah, it's like how do you put pressure on the other team is what I'm trying to say
Right.
in this instance.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the front end is actually trying to convince the skip of the shot that you mentioned, where we would come in off the inside of the yellow rock, and there it is, that one, in the 12-foot, because the opportunities, as you mentioned, are numerous. You could miss it or hit it in various versions and still do good things. But the other option they keep coming back to is to try to hit this one at the top of the 8-foot. And there's only half a rock visible, so it's a tough shot. It would be beautiful if they could make it, but I think they're worried about options if they don't.
There's some ways you could miss it and still make it doing that shot, but it just depends on weight. Love a little meeting here. This is an interesting setup for Team Park for sure.
Yeah.
Keep in mind they do have the hammer.
They're taking their time making a decision. This has been tough.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they're disagreeing about what's possible or what's best. And I guess there's no. I guess, are we in a timeout? I don't even know. There's no coach has come out to speak to them or anything. So I can't actually tell if there's a timeout or if there's even such a thing in this game, whether they just take their time and they finish when they finish.
It might not be a timeout. It might just be a hangout. You know, we're just gonna chat for this.
Come down. Let's talk about this. Yeah.
So with that line, it might be a decent amount of weight, and they might be seeing that it is falling out and just try to hit that. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I tried to make a call based on the broom earlier in this game, and I was wrong. So I'm being careful. Based on the broom, if you see a lot of weight, then we're throwing a big hit. And also don't even know which handle they're throwing. Are they throwing in turn or out turn?
I guess we'll just have to wait 10 seconds to find out. Well, I guess in this case it might be closer to 25 or 30, just with how this discussion is going. But this is a crucial shot. Yeah, I'm glad they took time to think about it. Execution is one thing, though. And we have the first of the third stones here from Team Park. If they have the hammer, there's 5 yellow stones in the house. Can they get a better shape for themselves?
They're trying to hit the yellow. Just take half of it.
Oh my goodness, that is a great shot.
No, that's exactly what they called. So congratulations on that. That was really nice. Now, how will Team Sasaki respond?
It was a lot of weight to throw at it, but if they stuffed that blue rock at the on that yellow that they hit at the side of the 4-foot, then boy, that would have been excellent. In this case, yellow has a chance to just simply promote that yellow rock, sit 4, and have those 2 rocks in the 4-foot, depending where this goes, somewhat buried.
And we're also noticing around the edge of the 12-foot there are 2 rocks, and it may, I'm not sure it'll matter, but it may be worth looking at which one of those is better, because if this shot is made, this is a simple run back. There could be sitting as many as 5.
And here comes the run back. Good motion to try to keep this straight. And that works out quite nicely. So 5 yellow rocks all on one half of the sheets. And now Team Park will go to work and trying to figure out how they can score multiple in this end. And it might start with this hit right here.
I think you're right. Hit and roll probably if they can hide underneath the center. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter so long as they get rid of at least 2 of the yellows. They may be dreaming about getting even 3 of them out, but let's see how it goes. It'll come down to the drag effect on these 2 yellow rocks that are kind of fused together.
Stone from the 3rd here. Team Park throwing another big weight shot back to back here, trying to get rid of some of this yellow granite. Throwing it maybe a little tight, getting the sweeper to keep it out there. And falling again on them just a little bit. And it will go behind some cover, but quite neatly so. Sadly, they are only 3rd shot.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a unfortunate result because that you, with a shot that good, I thought they would have at least had second shot. But it looks like yellow's line 2,
Yeah,
and
yellow's got a
definitely
chance,
in the driver's seat now.
chance to just attack the 4-foot. Yeah, right about there. Get it somewhere buried, and then you're in good shape.
Yeah, middle of the 8-foot, on the line between the two yellows that are already there would be lovely.
As they come
Here
down.
we go.
The shape, taking a look at it here. First stone here from Ari Ogihara. He's been playing quite well, to be honest. She just hasn't had a whole lot to shoot at.
No, that's true. Both teams are executing really well. As you say, it comes down to having a good options and then making them really precisely. So one has tended to out-precise the other. Is that a word?
Anything's a word if you try hard enough.
Yeah, I suppose.
So this looks like it's a little heavy. That's what sweepers are indicating currently. How heavy is the question?
They should. Okay. A little bump, and now there's a bit of a pocket. If the Team Park wants to come down with their blue stone and just sit right in that pocket, or I guess in theory they could also just remove something, but wow, what an opportunity.
Yeah, play the guard a little tight, and you might get just that little bit of motion. You saw how much that rock curled there, even though it sort of rested behind the tee line. If you could throw something that's just a little bit less weight, you could potentially get it right in there. And yeah, you're right, this is a great opportunity for Team Park. Already up by 1, you make this draw. You might be looking at a skips deuce here after, again, shooting against 4 or 5 at times in this end. Not a bad little turnaround.
So based on where the broom is, this is looking like they're just throwing a nice draw, maybe a heavy draw attempt to come down and bump and sit right on that a pair of yellows in the 4-foot.
Chance to come around here. First of 2 for 4 stones here. Now, this looks like it's out and might even be heavy.
Same thing happened in the one we just saw where it ended up gliding a little bit more than they expected. So now they're trying to sweep it. Man, it's gone all the way through.
Goodness, just a little bit too much weight on that, and all of a sudden this golden opportunity turns into a nightmare for this team from Korea. Sasaki, after really, as you mentioned earlier, Dave, really chasing in this game, struggling to find their footing, now have a chance to sort of sink 3 in behind this guard and make a draw extra difficult. Probably a hit to just try to remove some granite on her last here for Team Park.
Yeah, it would be super to see her come down and sit in the 4-foot. Just give yourself enough cover so that it's not an easy hit, and lots of good options are there for her. So it's all about getting the weight right on this one. Both the last 2 rocks have been heavy, hers and her opponent's, so this is a path that's tricked them a little bit. Lots of room, boy oh boy, she's thrown this quite wide.
Have to wonder if final stone here, if this Team Sasaki had noted that this path was maybe a little faster, throwing it down, and you'd be able to carve it and kill it, and that is exactly what they managed to do here. That is a great spot for that stone. Now they might have something, but I'll have to eye this up. I'm not exactly sure if they do.
Well, it's a very good question, because you start to ask about the intern side, whether you can get to the inside of the rock that's fully in the 4-foot and sort of move sideways as you come in. This is another classic situation that we see in mixed doubles all the time, where can you bump and roll towards the center and jiggle around the rocks that are there. You won't hit them hard enough to remove them, but could you end up shot? Because I think if you come down with the out turn and you hit the nose of the shot that area just through, the yellow that's sitting at the top of the button, I don't think you'll be shot. It's close. It's close.
So it looks like a little bit of weight here. Final stone for Team Sasaki. This is Chile taking the final stone here. Or sorry, my apologies for
Team Park.
Correct, that's right, for Team Park.
Yep.
We should note that they are sitting 4. The Japanese team does have that 4th stone off to the edge, so you see them just taking a little bit more line. Something to keep in mind if they do manage to just miss this and flash this. You know, that's not just 3, it's 4 points. This is a pretty significant turn here for Team Park, trying to make contact, trying to reduce the potential score. Curious what kind of weight they're going to end up throwing at this, David. Something that'll obviously curl in enough.
Yeah, she's trying to hit nose, so she needs to make sure it curls. I don't think she's going to throw a ton of weight, but this is an area where both skips have been, or I guess both of the people throwing 4th rocks, which interestingly are not the skips, have been fooled both in line and weight. So we really, it's a delicate shot. You need to hit the line perfectly.
You keep it on straight now, trying to carve it to try to get as much of this face as you can. And that's a great judge just to skinny that guard. And that's a good bailout shot. Looks like it might still be 2 for yellow.
I think we're looking at 2 yellow. I think so.
Yeah, looks like
yep.
I'm confirming that now. So 2 yellow, so just the steal. Believe it or not, after that end, that's a pretty good result here for Team Park. They retain the hammer going into the 5th. We will be right back from Vernon, British Columbia.
When curling life wasn't curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation.
Not ready anymore then.
Hello and welcome back to Vernon, British Columbia, Prestige Hotels and Resorts Curling Classic. Here from Vernon, and that was quite an interesting end here in the 4th, David. Here with Marty Thompson. Now, Team Park had a great first half, and you know they just ended up having some pretty bad breaks here in this 4th. Now, they retain the hammer, and it looks like they're probably going to go corner guards, be a little bit more aggressive, try to capitalize on how they have been playing so far in this game. But I think the story thus far, David, has been that end in the 4th and real lifeline for Team Sasaki. They managed to really capitalize on it, and honestly, getting 2 looked like they might have got 3 or 4. So not a bandit at all.
No, it worked out really well for them. I think one of the things you know when you're seeing teams like this is they're both very, very capable teams, and to have a game where one team is completely dominant every end is rare. It doesn't really happen, and we saw what looked like in the first 3 ends some pretty comfortable dominant play from Team Park, and then all of a sudden here comes Team Sasaki. So it's a reminder of how evenly matched these 2 teams are. Nice corner guard.
Yeah, quite nice. Around.
A little extra work from the sweeping core, though. Wow, they were panicking a little bit on that one. So now we're coming around the center line. and trying to bury. This is back to the textbook.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, textbook start to the end for sure. Yeah, these are some of the best sweepers in the world. It really is. It's incredible what kind of physicality it takes at this level, to move the rocks that they're able to do, and it's it really is incredible. You just see the speed there on that good mixture of speed and weight. That might not be the most weight down by percentage, but I know it's kind of a bit of a cliche at this point, but with the Scottish team, Bobby Lammy, how he sweeps, that is just as effective. And in this case, it's using your body weight to the best you can. And if you have limited body mass, you just use the speed to make up for it, and therefore it is good sweeping no matter what.
Yeah, no, the sweeping work is amazing, and I often will tell people who are learning about curling or learning how things work, and if we say to them, like, how should I sweep, or what should I do, and you can tell them, and you can even demonstrate, but I say, but when you're watching a curling game on TV or on video, as we are, watch the sweepers work as much as you watch the shots. And it's easy to just get lost in watching the rock sliding, but if you watch the work of the sweepers, it's just amazingly good stuff, and you can learn a lot just by saying, okay, look how they stand, look where their feet are, look at their broom position. It's really fantastic, and they're all four of them very, very strong.
They absolutely are. Yeah, sweeping is very much, it is a how do you put this? I mean, it's ultimately a very objective discipline, but the science continues to show that it just comes down to what you can use and how you can use it, and I think it's good. It's just good for a sport to have that kind of I'd say looseness in that ability, because it shows the sport is already incredibly physically inclusive at all levels, but even at the highest level, we have sweepers that have this shape and body type, and then we also have the sweepers that we see from Switzerland and Italy at the top level, these 6'4" plus guys, and ultimately they're both incredibly effective in their own right. It's just good to see.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, sweeping is a tricky thing to explain to people, because I say, there's, I don't know how many factors that come into good sweeping. Everything from, how tall are you, how athletic are you, how strong are you, how much do you weigh, what is the angle of your broom, how fast are you sweeping, how hard are you pressing on the ice, and even other things like, how old and used up is your broom head. And so you'll say, like I tell, there's some guy in the club who's been using the same broom for the last 4 years. I don't care how good a sweeper you are. If you use an old 4-year-old broom head, you're probably not doing much. And they would say, really? Do you think I should get a new broom head? I said, yeah. And then they would go and get one, and they'd come up to me and go, wow, it made a huge difference.
Yeah, I wrecked the first 3 shots I swept. Right. Thanks, man. It just completely destroyed our first. We gave up a 5, and then we were done. Yeah, no, it's the other difficult thing too is you see this sweeping here from Ogihara, that like high hand, low hand style. It's there's a lot of things that with sweeping that are kind of unsaid even at club level, right? Where there's some things you don't really know until somebody comes and tells you, hey, like you got to replace your broom head. And even at this level, they've obviously put lots of thought into how they actually sweep and how they do this motion, because they're curling, as you mentioned, all year round, right? This is not a fun thing they're showing up to, and there's that subjectivity to it that's important, but also you just need people to just sort of set those guardrails for you. Like you said, it's just like, oh yeah, kind of follow this person, they seem to be good at it, and then like that's it, right? And go from there.
Or little things, you throw around words like open and closed sweeping styles and things like that, and people don't really know. And then you say, well, watch this person. They sweep open or they sweep closed. And then they say, oh, okay, now I understand. So when I do this, I'm closed. I say, yes. And they say, okay, nobody ever told me that. So a lot of times we learn by osmosis as well. the more you watch, I think the more you learn, and you can pick up little things. You watch a curling game and say, okay, I'm going to watch and I'm going to try and remember or learn one thing from this. What can I learn today? And a lot of times, if you look at the sweeping technique, there's tons to learn. So
we have a nice setup here for Team Park with those two melded. Sasaki's a chance to get some of that blue granite moving, though. Well, it looks like that's maybe the shot just to come down this path right here.
I think so. This is they can't make the double. Well, I don't think they can make the double, but they're already looking at making sure that one blue goes and that they have two yellows in the house. And that's going to give them a lot to work with. This is the last 4 rocks, so they've already halfway through the end, and they need to make sure that they have things to work with. Again, really conservative weight. And we're not seeing any time in this game. I don't know if you agree with me, Marty, but it seems to me that their hitting has all been really quite finessed weights. Like, I'm not criticizing. I don't think it's a bad thing, but except that when it over curls.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. But they don't seem to be throwing any of these monster hits that we have been known to see with 4-player curling. It seems to be much more finesse, which is great.
Yeah, it is. So that was not a great miss. Yeah, it's tough with that weight. Yeah, I understand why there's that tendency to throw them sometimes. You just got to throw something big. For Team Park, like, you could kind of probably move these around, you know, or it's guard, or I don't know. You throw back something and make the next one a little harder.
Well, it's still hard to remove both blues.
Yeah.
You could come around the other way and play a shot on the back yellow and sit 3, and then let yellow deal with it. But I think you're right. I think they want to put a rock that's going to make it difficult for Team Sasaki to come up with a good solution to open things up and make sure there's a scoring opportunity. Team Park has hammer this end, so the blue has hammer. They want to make the most of this. Looks like they're talking about kind of bumping the top rock, and the shooter is going to roll to the side. They're trying to guarantee they'll have a chance for 2.
So kind of that back 8, back 12 weight, I guess. Just try to move them around. Quick update from the other sheet there, just to the left as we see it. Kristen Ryan versus Bobby Kang. Rink out of Korea. So that's a 3-2 after Team Kang put up a 3 spot in the 4th. Kristen Ryan does have hammer, though, in the 5th. And that was our last score. They might be in the 6th at this point. I'm not sure. I think they're quite a bit farther ahead of us, but that's okay. That means this game has been good. Okay, that's all I'm saying. You know, they're playing quick. There's just been a lot to talk about.
Well, they did have that one session last end where there was a 2 or 3 minute break in the game while they tried to decide what to do. So that did put a dent in our time. But generally speaking, we're moving at a good pace. You're right. No time clocks. No time clocks, I don't think, in this event. So
could have been a chance for a commercial break as well. Too bad we missed that opportunity. A little move around here on these blue rocks, and that's not a bad little shape, David. I'm not sure what yellow will be looking at in terms of trying to get rid of some of these. I guess the doubles there.
Yeah, I don't know if you do a straight back on the top blue, you could remove 2, but you have to be careful not to hurt your yellow in the back. Interesting. They have to do something about this top rock. It's definitely the one that's causing the problem.
Opportunity here. There. Of course, we've got streaming here on Curling Zone's YouTube channel, Curling Stadium in Martinsville, Saskatchewan as well for the mixed doubles event taking place there. That's going to continue on today.
There's been an amazing number of options. It's exciting. As a curling fan, it's exciting to see how many different games that are now available for viewing. I even saw one last night where I guess they've just run out of commentators because there was nobody saying a word, and yet here was this wonderful one. One of the teams was from Germany. I actually know the mixed doubles team quite well, but it was not a soul saying a word. They were just playing, and we were free to just watch and enjoy it, which was great. But I'm thinking to myself that shows what an explosion there's been in terms of the number of options of things that are on video now. It's exciting.
See that nice little movement there. That's a decent little shot to get some of that. Granted, at least moving. That one that's on the right side is third shot, but it's at least giving some space. Yeah, it's great to see also with the Grand Slam this weekend and how that's sort of growing with the curling group. And yeah, it's not really opening a door per se, because this door has already been opened, but just more is more in this case in terms of streaming, and that's just how the industry needs to be thinking about media industry just across the board. Everything needs to be sort of thought that way. So it's great that they're able to stream as much as they have at the high level and also this level as well, right? This is important to grow the game as we see lots of fans from abroad, which we appreciate you guys tuning in, and that's just important to be able to deliver the games that these athletes are performing in straight up.
Absolutely, and we can talk about these levels being, A level, B level, or whatever you want to call it, but these teams are all wonderful. It's not as if you're watching, beginners out here. These are terrific curlers. Anytime you see teams coming to Canada to play from Japan or Germany or Korea, Italy, wherever they're from, they're not going to be weak teams or beginners. They're really playing at a good level. And it shows the strength they have in some of these countries, the depth. If they can put together 2, 3, 4 really strong teams to come and play in an event, you're not going to run out of talent. And they really benefit from it too. Their programs obviously benefit as well back home. So it's terrific to see.
And if there's something we've learned, especially in this country, is that curling on TV is great to watch.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been at this for more than 50 years now, and I always tell people it's a really TV friendly. It's the colors there, the action. It's not at a pace where you lose track of what's going on, so you can follow it. And my mom is a huge fan, and she was after me yesterday. She said, "Well, if you're going to be on, can I listen?" And I said, "Sure." And then she said, "Well, what channel is Curling Zone?" Meaning she wants to turn her TV on, and instead of watching CBC, she wants to watch Curling Zone. I said, "No, Mom, it's on YouTube." And we had to figure out how to
get that going. Oh,
how to get to YouTube, but it worked eventually. But it was an interesting process. I have my TV on. What channel? And I said, no, it's not like that. So you have to watch it on your iPad.
So that was a nice little hit and roll here for Team Sasaki. Team Park in a difficult situation if they want to unlock these other blue rocks, potentially have them as scoring. Come around, tap back, I guess, eh?
Yeah, you just have to be careful because boy, oh boy, it's not quite behind cover, but it's I don't know if you can get to it and run it straight back. That's the goal. And sit 3. Let's hope. Or you hit it with weight and knock it sideways and your shooter is out, but then you still have 2, which is the other option. Based on where that broom is, boy oh boy, I don't know if I can predict which one they're trying. I think they're trying to hit it through the hole between the 2 blues and stay in the house somewhere.
Team Park could really not ask for a better spot for that blue rock at the back 4. It's just tricky enough to make this last shot here or make this next shot rather from Team Park. Interesting to say the least. So our first coming up from Skip Stones.
Yet again, just finesse level weight.
Yeah.
Nothing big.
And they're maybe just worried with the hits, how much they fall. This is maybe a tolerance choice. So here it comes. They might want to ease off. Yeah, little carve. Cheat as much as you can around this guard, and they do. And it does bump, but it's at least at the back of the house, and they are shot. So Team Sasaki coming up here. Ogihara with their final stone of this end. Banana peel potential here for Team Park if they do manage to miss this hit and roll, but this should be pretty clinical here from Sasaki to sit 2 and then force the 1 likely.
Yeah, I mean, a nice hit and roll will mean that there's not much option other than just a draw, or possibly hit and roll. But I think they're just going to leave a fairly tough draw, 4-foot anyway, for Team Park.
Final stone here for Team Sasaki and Mary Ogihara. Now again, not a ton of weight. Wanting to keep this straight.
It's looking pretty good. Line is good. It's a question of whether they have the weight to push that blue back where they need to.
How much is this going to curl on them?
Okay.
They made it. Yeah, they made it.
Job done.
That's a pretty sneaky roll behind that blue, actually. They're almost flat, too. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, I don't think you have anything else. I think you just have to go for the 4-foot and go for your 1 point.
Yep. Just barely hung on there. If that yellow rock had drifted enough to make the blue the second shot, that would have been a big difference. But right now they just have a draw. There's really nothing else they can do.
Final stone here for Team Park. Chai Lee taking the 4th stones for this squad. Went 4-1 in pool play. Here they are in the quarterfinals. The winner of this game will advance to take on one of the 2 Chinese teams that got an automatic bye to the semifinal here in Vernon.
Here we go. I think this is relatively straightforward.
Final stone here for blue. Just coming back right to that yellow rock. About the same weight we've seen on many shots here at this point. It looks like it's hanging out on them a hair. A little carve over.
As it reaches the house, it will curl, I think. It should be in good shape. The good news is that she made sure she had enough weight and didn't come up light. So, good shot.
Great execution here from Team Park. 3-3. Team Sasaki will have the hammer going into the 6th end here. We'll be right back from Vernon.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Hello and welcome back to the Prestige Hotels and Resorts Curling Classic here in Vernon, British Columbia. My name is Marty Thompson. I'm joined by Dave Wills here for this quarterfinal matchup between Team Sasaki and Team Park. We were just talking about it on the break, David. Just, you know, it's kind of a prevention of some big momentum swings. It seems like both teams are kind of in this arrested development stage where really close to breaking out in one of these ends. And there has been a lot of rocks in play for sure, but just haven't had that clinical 1 or 2 final shots to really seal the deal and really take a hold of this game.
I think you're right. It's been a great game, but it's interesting how it looked at the beginning as if maybe a Team Park was sort of seizing the initiative and really forcing Team Sasaki to react. And but then along came, the third end, and then that totally changed. Sorry, the fourth end, and sort of changed everything. So they're really trading, trading initiative at this point. We have 3 ends to go, and it would be really, really nice to see one of the teams step up and sort of take over. But these two are very evenly matched, so there's no way of knowing exactly how they'll go. They're definitely playing conservatively, which is classic for both the Korean and the Japanese teams, I find. There's not a lot of risk taking, but there's definitely opportunities as we get closer to the end, especially with a tie game. So let's hope we see some bigger, or maybe a little bit riskier initiatives coming in.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, with this come around from Team Sasaki opting not to do that classic diagram of what to do when you don't have the hammer. Now they have the hammer in the 6, which means, of course, if they score, Team Park scores, that means they're going to have the hammer twice in a 3-end run. So that's just the general methodology for just coming around like this, David, is just trying to maybe get 1, maybe 2 out of this and try to see if you can take advantage of this double hammer situation coming home.
I mean, it looks a little funny at the beginning, especially if you haven't got that much experience, where you're looking at it going, why do they keep putting rocks behind the guard? I mean, what good is that? Well, what happens is we put a few rocks behind the guard, and then at some point in the very near future, somebody's going to get rid of that guard, and then what happens? So we're preparing, I suppose, for the fireworks that are coming up sort of after the first 5 or 6 rocks have been played. You want to position yourself to take advantage of that situation. This is supposed to be a little tap freeze, and it turned out quite nicely. Although now the yellow rock is a little bit exposed, and maybe giving the chance for the blues to hit. Yep. So Team Park will come down and try and do a hit and roll. Is there a double? Yeah. Maybe not.
Yeah. Maybe Friday night mix.
Yeah,
maybe not right now.
A very thin double. Yeah. Yes. Let's just play one at a time. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Well, again, you want to keep your rocks in play, so it's all about positioning.
So you have this little tidy little hit and roll, and then you probably get like a little stagger on those ones in the top 8, which would be a unique situation if this is down, they're gonna have to carve it. You know what, this maybe isn't the worst, because I was just going to say, if you ended up sort of staggering those blue rocks, I don't know, what does yellow do? They might just kind of guard you and try to hold on to those staggers as best you could, and then try to do a draw at the end for 2. So maybe this isn't the worst case scenario here for blue, although yellow now has this opportunity to hit and roll. Yeah. And it's a little cleaner this time, I think.
Well, it's definitely a little more room to play with, but it comes down to throwing the right combination of weight and line, because you've got to not only remove the blue, but you've got to get yourself underneath. If you leave a rock just sitting out in the open like that, the end will be all about trading shots on that line. So we really need to try and find a way to make not only the hit, but also to get the roll. So I've tightened up the ice. She just moved her broom, actually, interestingly, as I said that. So we'll see how it comes out. A little bit about weight, that's the factor that comes in. So the sweepers have to communicate. See, she's thrown it right on the right line, but there's so much weight that it's not finishing for her. Okay.
Yeah. It's hard to tell there, David. I'm curious if you caught that too. Just like, when somebody lets go of a rock and that inside sweeper gets on it right away, and you end up pushing that path out a little bit. It was hard to tell just because we can't quite see that opening stanza, although it looked like the inside sweeper just backed off. That's something that I feel like more, especially at the club level, more curlers are sort of getting attuned to, is, the term killing the rock, but really just pushing it out that at the very fragile beginning part of that arc can be very detrimental. I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but it looked like that might have played a factor in how that ended up just being a little bit straighter than they thought.
Right. Well, I think you're right. It's interesting to watch, because one of the key, I think, ideas is that the inside sweeper is getting on the rock quickly and keeping it clean, making sure that there's no debris or other funny things that happen. It's not really about sweeping it in the traditional sense of trying to help it move or trying to help influence it. But a lot of times, as you say, if they lean on it a little too hard, if the clean becomes a bit too enthusiastic, it can be affecting the actual line of the rock. It's nice to see a nice clean action, but you don't want to overdo it. So you're right. They maybe let the what's the right word? Let the rock catch the curl. Let the rock get a little grip. You'll notice both teams are doing that, where they basically are putting the broom down instantly. Not necessarily sweeping hard, but the broom is down, and they have to be careful not to overdo it. What's happening here? We're having a discussion about something.
Yeah, just taking a little look again and seeing if there's anything that makes a bit more sense, maybe. Oh, through the wrong rock, maybe? What's going on?
Oh, it looks as if one of the yellows from the other sheet and one of our yellows have been crossed. That's fun.
That's great. All right, well, there you go.
Yeah, they're laughing. Everybody's laughing.
Okay.
So at some
good
point,
eye, good attention to detail.
There you go.
How many rocks we got left?
Yeah.
Maybe one of those.
Well, the number of rocks is correct, but somebody's noticing that, how we have a sheet 4 and a sheet 5, and then somebody's noticing, wait a minute, this is not from our sheet.
4 and 4, yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, I see there.
All right, guys, let's go. I think we got it now. And of course, the conversations are in different languages. So who's talking? The two teams that are Korean are talking to each other. Oh, sorry. The Korean teams are talking to each other in Korean, because the one on the next sheet, one of them is Korean. So, all right, I think we've got it. A lot of laughs, and she's making a point of standing up and resetting herself before she throws, which is nice to see. A disciplined curler.
Yeah, it's all about that. All about that preparation for sure. Did you end up sort of working a little bit with curlers in your sort of coaching background, David, on that kind of stuff specifically, and the sort of sports psychology element of that, and just getting that reset for yourself?
Absolutely. I'm I guess a fairly seasoned coach, and I have a brand or a gimmick, I guess you might call it, that I use when I coach. I say FLK. The letters FLK are for focus, line, kick. And I'm always asking them to be thinking about how they're starting everything. And once you're getting ready to make a shot, your level of focus on what it is you have to do starts with a routine, and there's always something that you're doing that works that routine from the beginning. So if you get interrupted, you have to sort of go back to the beginning and start over. Set up and get yourself square and everything else so that you're ready to throw the shot as prescribed. So. Yeah,
that's a FLK. That's a good acronym. Hopefully people at home can take that home. That's a great analogy for exactly what you need to be focused on.
Well, and it's first of all, it's mine, so nobody steal it.
Checks in the mail.
When I'm even when I'm on the ice and coaching, it's an easy thing to just say to a curler, just a quick reminder. It's like, you're doing a great job out here, FLK. And you say FLK, and they go, yeah, FLK. And it's just somebody thinks about, I got to remember to keep myself set, to focus, to get all the little pieces correct each time. So, yeah, I'm also a big golf fan, and I used to watch Tiger a lot. And one fellow who used to play with him said, the interesting thing about Tiger is about 30 seconds before he's going to hit, you lose him. He's just gone. And he drifts into this zone of focus and concentration until the shot's over. And I think a lot of athletes, and curlers in particular, are distracted by so many things. And you really have to learn to really, when you're going to try and execute a shot, there's enough tricky parts to make it difficult without letting yourself be distracted by external stuff.
Yes.
So try to focus on what you have to do.
It's a fantastic book that came out this year about penalty shootouts in soccer. It's called Pressure. And it's very comparable to, I read it and I just kept thinking back to, what a curling delivery is, and how, in reality it is a shot that you should be making about, 80-90% of the time in that range, give or take. And penalty shootouts are about the same in soccer. But it comes down to what are those external factors in that game and the external factors in this game Well, they're not the same in terms of, you know, a player on the other team picking up the rock and walking away with it or whatever, like they do in soccer with the ball or what have you, whatever kind of distractions. But that resetting of yourself and that resetting of your mind, even though you're not resetting your mental state per se, you know, you might still be sort of feeling a little anxious or on edge. You don't need to reset your state, but you do need to have that thing that your body can kind of rely on and come back to, have that focus and then proceed. You know, and how important that is as part of a routine. Something they talked about in this book, which I thought was hilarious, was when they first started the penalty shootout in the 70s, the referee would blow the whistle and the players would immediately run to the ball. Like they were either so scared they wanted to get it over with, you know, or they just thought that was the procedure. And it's like, no, just take your time, figure it out, let it happen. This is a great double peel here. Great shot. But yeah, it was that kind of interesting thought too with curling, where it's like, you know, your routine can be on the longer end, it can be in the shorter end, whatever feels comfortable for you, whatever you know is going to put you in the right frame of mind.
Right, and even just, you know, the old, you're down in the hack, almost ready to throw, and then something interrupts you, so then you stand up. You just stand up and sort of reset. That little gesture all by itself can make a big difference in terms of your level of focus, and even things like your aim, because you know you start the whole shot from standing position behind the hack, not in the hack. So those things can come into play for sure.
And another nice little hit and roll. Jiggles that yellow rock back here for Team Park, and yeah, there's a nice little hit and roll here for Team Sasaki. They're looking for a deuce here. It's entirely possible, even though with the no guards, to see what you can do on this hit and roll and put the pressure on.
Looks like a pretty good setup now. I think the two options for yellow, if they're going to play a shot to take out the blue at the top of the forefoot, whether they want to just sit right there in the middle and sort of dominate the center, or whether they want to float it over behind the guard in the side of the house, obviously splitting themselves up. Two sort of schools of thought. I have a feeling they're going to try and play a nice roll over into the 8-foot.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt, eh? Nice. Ways to make this one. The final stone here for the third here for Team Sasaki. A skip. And lined up.
The first of the two options.
Yes, exactly.
It does make it easier for a double attempt, but it depends on how hard you throw it. You've got to make sure, Team Park has to make sure that they're lying two blues at the end of this. So, yeah, they're trying it.
And roll wide and, make that double tough. Now, see that broom. We mentioned we were just trying to keep an eye on these hits, potentially just having that little bit of a falling out motion. This is almost exactly where they'd want to hit this rock. I'd imagine maybe about a half a broom's length out to the wide side, but just something to keep in mind, because these camera angles really do allow us to see that kind of motion quite well. Something to keep in mind on this shot here is the first skip stones coming from Chai Lee. Crucial shot, you know, if you don't want to pick this one out, you know, and then they would have a chance to put something up and potentially even sit two and make that even harder in your second. So crucial shot here, first of two in the 6th end. Team Park final 4th stones.
One of the heavier hits that we've seen in this game. I'm not sure that's saying a lot, because they've definitely thrown with incredible finesse, but boy, this is floating.
It doesn't have a comeback, eh? It doesn't have that little hook. It's almost like it's going to hook back at you if you make it past the hack or something, or past the board if the ice continued.
I felt as if that rock had curled up to almost to the middle of the top rock, and then it seemed to drift ever so slightly and ended up rolling out. Wow. Okay, so now Team Sasaki has a chance to just get rid of the blue and sit two. And frankly, as long as they sit somewhere where it makes it hard for a double, I think they'll be giving themselves a great chance to score two this end, which is great.
There's a we'll see how much weight is on this. I was just going to say, you can see how you can see that why these teams have sort of opted for that, like, you know, just generally that lower hit weight.
No, this doesn't even look like a hit anymore. I don't think. You and I are thinking hit, but I don't. No, it is a hit. You're right.
Just something nice and comfortable, nice and malleable here for this side.
Good shot.
Out of Japan, and then, yeah, that is a nice little roll over to the side. So double attempt for Team Park. Look for the blank. And this is a tough one for sure, but it comes down to what kind of ice you're going to throw when, as you use the term float, David, you're bang on. Trying to throw into this kind of ice is tough for a hit like this.
Yeah, I don't think there's a chance for a double. So, I mean, I guess there is a possibility if you hit it at the right angle. Or either that or they roll into a position where they're shot and they force Team Sasaki to deal with it. Let's have a look. I have to admit I'm having a terrible time deciding sometimes based on the energy of the throw, because a lot of times you'll see teams throwing a lot more weight on shots like this. And here we are with really very, very nice finesse hit weights. I'm impressed, I have to say. I'm impressed with the weights that these teams are using.
Final stone here for Team Park. Can they get out there? No. So they made the adjustment to play it tighter, and it was too tight. Draw potential here for Team Sasaki. Keep in mind, they have the hammer. This is the 6th end. Chance to go up by 2 and have another hammer here waiting for them in the 8th. So this next end, if they can make this draw, will be crucial for Team Park.
Yeah. Yeah, well played by both teams, but in the end, Team Sasaki has given themselves a nice opportunity here. And a 2 at this point in the game is a very, very nice. If you can do the old model where we say take 2 when you have hammer, give 1 when you don't, and you'll be in great shape after 6 ends. So.
Final stone here in the 6th end. This team from Japan here in Vernon, BC. Ogihara. Wait, I'm trying to be a little bit patient with this rock as it is a little heavy, but I wonder if they start to carve it, try to get it to this yellow rock, and they could lose a bit of weight if they need to. And looks like they might not need to do that at all. Slight bump on the yellow, and a score of 2 for this team from Japan. They're now up 5-3 going into the 7th. Team Park will have hammer though. We'll be right back from Vernon.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Hello and welcome back to Vernon, British Columbia. This is the Prestige Hotels and Resorts Curling Classic. Team Sasaki up 5-3 over Team Park. It's Marty Thompson and David Wills with you here. I'm calling in from Ontario, but of course this game is across the country in BC. And shout out to all of the fans of these respective teams from even farther away. We really appreciate everybody tuning in and keep the comments rolling in. We've really been enjoying checking out chat here as this game's proceeded. So Team Sasaki up 5-3 earlier in the game. You know, David, we were sort of seeing as Team Park been playing quite well, but we mentioned a couple ends ago or maybe an end ago, just the momentum sort of being a little stifled. Now it's really it's really panic stations for Team Park in terms of trying to get some points on the board here in the 7th going into the 8th. You know, getting 2 is kind of minimum right now, and trying to generate some scoring here with the corner guard.
You're right. It's the fact that Team Sasaki was able to get 2 last end is a big deal, because being 2 up with 2 to play, the other team has to try to either get 2 and steal in the final end, or or not to get anything and then try to make a 3 with hammer in the third or in the final end. Either one is a challenge. So it was a really big 2, a really big deuce for Sasaki in the 7th end there. But Team Park is very capable, so we'll have to see. Right away, Sasaki is throwing one into the house. They're playing offensively, and they're basically just saying, okay, we're going to make your life as difficult as we can. The corner guard is up. We're back to the classic model, and let's just see how it pans out.
This should be a really nice line. You just got to stay on the right side of this center line from our camera angle on the left here, and they will do just that. Really nice spot. And they come around here from blue in the corner. Yep. Yeah, it's tough when you have, they've certainly struggled with big weight thus far. Both teams have, in terms of lining them up properly, trying to figure out how these rocks have actually sort of adjusted to this ice. Something to keep in mind in this end that might end up coming into play is, you set up an end like this, typically forces, some sort of double peel scenario off of a center guard or something. And so that might be tricky for a team like Team Park, where, throwing the odd big weight, not really comfortable with the line, and you really need to make something really precise like that big, opening sort of peel, and that might be tough to make. So something to keep in mind here as we see the corner come around quite nicely, but Team Sasaki is going to continue to just attack the middle or attack the corner.
Well,
That's it. No, that makes sense. Yeah, come around.
I actually asked myself if there might be a way to come around the outside of that blue guard and hit, but I think you're right. Just to draw up to the nose to freeze takes away the strength of that shot.
Yeah, it's just
just as soon as we say that, they're changing their mind.
Just the commentator. Yeah, it's just where that one ended up. It's kind of tempting. This looks like a doubles sort of arrangement here, just with that blue rock just behind the center line, instead in front of it. But yeah, tempting to just come right to it and see, or maybe having second thoughts. I'm not sure. Do you like this? Do you like this?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of second guessing
there. Yeah, all right. What do you like? Yeah, okay, we're coming all the way around. Yeah, I think both shots are good, David. I don't have a specific preference. I guess we mentioned that having to peel that yellow and try to send it back. If there is another yellow rock in there, you make it more difficult. You kind of know what Team Park are going to do next, right?
Yeah, it's the old classic saying, it doesn't matter what shot you choose as long as you make it. They could come around the center guard and literally freeze to the nose of their own shot, which is really a very nice position to be in. Or you can come back and corner freeze to the blue. This looks like are we trying a double guard here? Goodness.
Yeah, that might be the plan B. I'm not sure exactly whether that was the plan, but you know what? This kind of works too.
Absolutely. This is sort of the Brad Jacobs situation, where you have to double the guards, or else these hitters will come along and take everything away. Now, we are 5 rocks in play, so we are now allowed to start hitting things, and we're already looking at options.
Team Park forced to throw some yellow rocks back. It is possible for that yellow, and to stuff that one there. That wouldn't be ideal, but yeah, I see them really being careful with the line.
Yeah, they want to make sure they hopefully will manage a double on the yellows in the center and not interfere with any of the blues. That's the key.
Okay, a big peel opportunity here. Second stones here for Team Park.
Boy, and this is the big weight for them. It's so dead nose.
They've got it figured out. They've got the line figured out. That is a fantastic hit to really open this up. And now they're sitting one buried in behind. great shot here from Team Park. Great team shot as well.
Worked out beautifully. So now they're looking at different options to draw in. Team Sasaki with the yellow rocks needs to continue to apply pressure, basically. So they're asking each other whether they can simply draw behind the yellow. It's still there. There's a yellow remaining. It's not center line anymore, but it's still usable. Or they could even, if they see what I'm seeing, they can come around the outside and then and sit in front of, or even tap the blue rock out. I don't know if that shot's there. But there's a lot of options. They have to be counting, though. They definitely are focused on the idea of being shot. Now we're talking about hitting things. Goodness. There's a lot of options here.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, especially considering what their end goal here in this end is, which is, ideally trying to score as many as they can.
I don't know if I've seen many teams at this level where there seems to be these conversations between the people in the hack and the people in the house after they've sort of initially decided. They sort of seem to have these conversations all the way down the ice about whether they like an idea or not. Now they're taking themselves out. I think that was supposed to be a run back, to run it into the blue.
Right.
But I'm not sure. That was a higher weight shot than we've seen most of the game. Okay, now Team Park is in the driver's seat.
Yeah, they certainly are. This come around looks quite juicy if you're cheering for the team in blue.
And they really need to give themselves, they need to be guaranteeing themselves a 2. And if they make the right shot here, they can even start talking about whether they could get 3, which would be even better, because they're going to be giving up the hammer for the last end, so they have to get at least 2.
Well,
again, we're having a conversation all the way down the ice.
Well, if you're shooting it, you got to like it. So it's also quite refreshing. I find the teams that are specifically not from this part of the world having much more of that open dialogue, having much more of that discussion part of view, and it, ultimately it just comes down to preference. But there is just something, I think that's quite enlightening, just having a team just chat about it and just throw ideas out, and they're just ideas, right? There's no my idea versus yours or anything. We're just sort of discussing it. I always find that to be a very fascinating way of doing it, and I think ultimately, fundamentally, this is a team sport, and that's probably the way to go. But I already mentioned some preconceptions of the sport in this country, but
yeah. Well, we're into the vice, which is tricky because the vice is technically the skip. The person throwing vice rocks, the third rock.
Oh, true. Yes,
is
of
the
course.
skip.
Yes,
so
yes.
Sometimes the conversations are happening, I think, because the person is just sort of theoretically the boss is in the hack, and the other one just wants to make sure that she understands and sets the broom properly. So
that's quite a nice draw, eh?
Beautifully done.
So there's the chance here to back and make a move here.
Yeah. So Honoka is now Sasaki, the skip of the team, is throwing her first shot of the end, even though there's 4 rocks left. And she's going to try, I think, to draw around the center and sit in a place where the Koreans have a... No, I'm wrong again. Never mind.
Well, big weight incoming here. Inside
Based on where the broom was, I was pretty sure I knew what they were doing. And no, though they've removed the guard, which is in itself a pretty useful idea. So you need another guard. Because now with those 2 rocks in the house, there's 3 is in play. So if they can keep guarding this, then there's a chance to make a 3.
So Ross coming around here. Yeah, it's not a bad set here for Team Park, as again, we're just kind of coming up to the back end here. It's good shaping up to potentially score a decent amount of points. Execution important at this stage, of course, as it always is, but I'm maybe saying this might be running on them a bit. See how much this, it really is curling a lot inside out, but.
And it also finishes a lot at the end when you think the line is wide, and then all of a sudden, as it comes down, it really does finish. This is lovely.
They're getting yeah, okay, not bad, not bad. Just wonder if they're going to try to get greedy and try to put that, come that right into the rings.
Yeah, if you have a biter, or close enough that it could be split for an extra point later on. But it's not bad. Okay. They're trying to decide if they can actually get enough of a hit on the rock that's in the house. It's the guard is pretty good, so it's going to be close. Either that or peel the guard. The miss, as they say, the pro side miss would be to remove the guard if they're going to try and hit the ones in the house.
Yeah, what's your first thought? Like, just send that right back, probably. Like, you know, even if you, I don't know, is there a way that you have 3 rocks in the rings? Yes, but if you throw enough weight, probably not.
This is a mixed doubles scenario again, because it's very much like the power play side. On that note, I would say if you can get to the nose or just inside nose of the pair in the house and just tap, knock one blue out and sit there, you get in the way and you make life very difficult for them. But it looks like they've decided to peel and maybe run back.
Yeah, maybe one or the other, or both.
Yeah. We're making a play on the guard, put it that
Yes,
way.
exactly, yeah. That's the power of positive thinking.
Boy, and they've taken negative ice. This is incredible.
And going inside out as well. It's a good read, I think, of this ice. Can you make them go? Yes, you can.
What
That
a
is
shot.
a fantastic shot here from Team Park, or rather from Team Sasaki, to remove Team Park stones. Yeah, that is handshakes all around. Well done. That's an incredible shot. So yeah, good.
If you notice the ice, it's incredible. It looked to me as if they had originally set the broom a lot farther out, and then they let the rock drift almost. But beautifully played, and a great result. I don't know if they had actually dreamt that they could get all 3, but good for them. Now, there is still a corner guard. However, obviously, the pressure is a lot different now.
You know, we've talked about that too, where those, you know, teams that, you know, again, typically are from this part of the country, or they just love throwing inside out, or they sort of go to it. And in instances like this, it really does make sense to go against, you know, this sort of falling motion, like, you know, like, or play into it, right? Like, try, you know, there are other ways to make it. Of course, you need to be comfortable to throw. As you said, that was a great analogy. You're talking about trying to be, wanting to throw inside out because I'm closer to that middle, I'm close to that target, I feel more comfortable doing it. You know, there's that element. As long as you're comfortable throwing it, you know, it really is a weapon that you can constantly utilize, especially when rocks get this wide.
Yep.
You know, so, like, more often than not, games really are decided at this level with those weird outside hits. You know, teams are going to try to force you to play a hit out there. You know, it's important to have that skill set for sure.
No, you're right. And, you know, even in practice, I think we have a tendency to run, when we're running rocks up and down, when we're throwing practice shots, we tend to run up and down the middle of the ice. Just because it's comfortable and familiar, and we need to remember that there's lots and lots of shots that we need to be able to play that go to the outside, you know, third of either side, in order to be effective with all the different shots. So yeah, this is a really nice little draw they just played. They've changed the side of the house. They've taken away the emphasis on the one side and gone to the other, and they're going to try Team Sasaki is now down to skip rocks. So Eri Ogihara is going to try to come around the guard and hit the blue that's in the house, nibbling the forefoot. If she's successful and even gets a little bit of a a flip in toward the center, that would be even better in terms of effectiveness. But number one is to get rid of the rock that's counting right now. Here she comes.
First shot or two here. On the fourth thrower for the squad. Saying it's a little down.
Got to get by the guard.
Straight. Yeah.
Just a tiny, tiny bit of overcurl.
That's going to hurt. That is going to hurt. So from Team Park's perspective, you want to just sort of protect that rock as much as you can. Try to throw another potential shot stone in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to have a second counter. The thing is, you have to try to make it also very difficult for your opponent to remove. Frankly, either one, but at least one of them has to be safe. I think they're looking at a position where it's sort of half under the guard and half guarding the one in the house, the old Christmas tree situation that we talk about. But I don't know that they're agreeing on that, so I'm not going to predict yet because they have a habit of changing their shots on me.
They certainly do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Christmas tree is just, ensuring that there's no, good angle for a team to attack and flip into, but it looks like they're going to come the other way because you could set that Christmas tree up, David, but then they just draw right down to it. They could draw all the way around on this side and beat you to the button.
Mm-hmm.
So this shot makes a bit of sense. Just try to come in there on this side, try to maybe block that draw path a little bit. Potentially, and see where you end up. If you do have one at the top four-ish, it make that draw a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, they have to make sure that they come deep enough into the house, like I would say top button or even right onto the button, because by coming this way, they're now leaving a chance for the opponent to hit and roll off of the rock that's there. Yeah, the last shot was a miss for Team Sasaki, but they did move the guard a little bit, so that rock in the house is now exposed. So they have to be a little careful to make sure that this rock is a really good one in terms of its depth. So here we come. We need to get to, I would say, top button or even T-line.
Yeah. Keep that out too much.
Yeah, we're also not finishing. Well, watch it now. Here it comes.
That curling motion just at the end there, and that'll come up quite nice for Team Park. Needing to, realistically, to have a good shot here in the 8th, and they put themselves in a solid position to do that. Now, the 4th thrower here for Team Sasaki.
Is there a double?
There's always a double. You didn't even need to say that, Dave. There's always a double.
There's always a double.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Yeah, double. You're saying double on the center line side. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, they would have to be
great.
like, you would lose your shooter, but you would be playing an angle double on the rock they just threw. But I think they're playing the hit and roll. No, I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like if you make that hit and roll just right, I don't know.
Yeah. No, they're playing the hit and roll, and they need to hide well enough that Team Park can't get at it. So.
Final stone here for Team Sasaki out of Japan. They have a 2-point lead here in the 7th end. Now they're saying it's a little down and they're carving it, so can you get enough movement? I'm not sure if it's going to come up enough. And it doesn't quite. So Team Park with that nose hit just remove that yellow rock to sit 2, go home tied, but at least they have a chance here with the 8th end looming.
I was really well thrown, and I'm a little surprised it didn't finish a little more. But you're right, it does leave an opportunity now for Team Park to just hit and stick. Frankly, hit and they can even roll a little bit as long as they stay in the house. This is the final rock of the end.
Certainly been a back and forth affair here in Vernon in this quarterfinal. Team Park started strong, had a couple difficult ends, and Wouldn't really surprise me if they make this and tie it up, but it really is indicative of this game and how close the margins have been between these two teams in this quarterfinal. Final stone here for Ji Lee and Team Park. Make the yellow rock go away and keep that blue rock somewhere in the rings would be enough. Now this is out there.
Yeah, it's definitely what I said before, drifting. It's hitting and then it's floating sideways, and sadly, it's gone all the way out the side. So one instead of two. So both teams got caught where the rock didn't finish. One managed to at least stick around. We're 1 point, and now there's a 1 point lead for Team Sasaki without hammer.
Okay, we'll be right back here for Vernon for this 8th and deciding end.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
I have a raspy voice.
Hello and welcome back for the 8th end here between Team Park and Team Sasaki. Team Sasaki with a 1 point lead and with the hammer here. Marty Thompson and Dave Wills calling this game live, this quarterfinal. And David, looks like we have an update on the other sheet there adjacent to us in the other quarterfinal.
Yeah, Marty, these two games that are on the ice right now are the quarters. Both winning teams will go on to play in the semis. And the other game, Kristen Ryan from Maple Ridge, BC, and Bobae Kang from Korea, has got to the 8th end. Team Kang from Korea are up by 2, 6-4. But Kristen Ryan has hammer, so she's trying, I guess, to at least make a 2 and stay alive. And it's really great to see both of these games have been very, very close.
And just a reminder for folks here, you can find all of these streamed games on Curling Zone's YouTube channel, including happening right now in Martinsville, Saskatchewan, the Ali Jenkins Mixed Doubles Memorial. There's been some great games out of there too. I think the final is set for later this afternoon. You can go ahead and check that out. It's 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:30 Mountain Time, and I guess 4:30 local there in Martinsville. So yeah, by all means, check out more of these games all afternoon here as we, it's a big day of streaming for curling, of course, with the slams going on as well. There's lots of curling available for you today.
So for our viewers, we just saw something interesting that definitely has not happened yet this game, where Team Park has put up a center guard. They wanted it to be on the line so that they couldn't play a tick, but they didn't succeed. They got it in the free guard zone, but not on the line. So Team Sasaki came down and tried to tick it, but it overcurled. They hit it too full, and as a result knocked it out of play. So then it came back. The blue rock from Team Park is now back where it was to start with, and Team Sasaki's rock was removed. And then now Team Park has just tried to double up the centerline guard by throwing a long guard and hogged it. So we are now pretty much where we were a minute ago. It's been very interesting. It was an attempted tick, which it's nice to see those, because most of the game the people who've been playing centerline guards have done it so well that they've been touching or on the center line, which means that the tick rule applies and they're not allowed to touch it. But this one is vulnerable, so to speak. It can be ticked, and they're trying again, I think. And this one, either they're ticking or they're trying to go around.
Looks like it was another tick attempt, and it's going to go all the way through.
Yeah,
very peculiar start to this crucial end. You know, you can just tell that the risk required in some of these shots, and of course the hog is quite unfortunate. But there's a chance to just sort of now kind of just try to come around for Team Park. Again, they're looking for 1, potentially 2 here, 1 to tie, 2 to win. And trying to think, just try to sink one around, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from our vantage point whether the weight is going to be sufficient to draw. I think this is another guard. They're smart just to realize that if they're going to get something started, they're going to have a decent set of guards. We have now had enough rocks played, though, that if I'm not mistaken, that was the 5th rock. Yes. So therefore, we can start to peel. And here we go with Sasaki basically just trying hard to remove everything. The fewer rocks in play, the better as far as Team Sasaki is concerned at this point.
Most certainly. Peel attempt here from this team from Japan. Looks like they'll be able to carve that over. Just enough. Oof. Quite close to making that double. And just put the guard back up and just continue this for a little bit and see where Park can end up at the end of the end.
At least one more, yeah. It takes a lot of patience to play it this way. I notice it interestingly that the energy of the team seems to have shifted. There's a lot more sort of relaxed, smiling conversation going on with Team Sasaki, whereas Team Park is still very much entrenched in the sort of the concentrated grind of the game. This has got to be over just barely. Good.
So just a reminder for folks at home, the semifinals here in Vernon scheduled to start at 12:15 p.m. Pacific time, 3:15 p.m. Eastern time. And again, both these teams looking to go ahead to take on one of 2 Chinese teams in the semifinal. You can watch that, of course, on Curling Zone. And coming up here at 2:30 in Eastern time, just in a few minutes, we have the Martinsville doubles. Looks like that might be just the semifinals. We're just coming up to the semifinals, some part of the playoffs.
Right.
Feel free to check that out right after this, if you don't mind. Really appreciate more views on Curling Zone. Of course,
yeah, it's great
content to be viewed.
There's just so much to watch. It's great to see the amazing options. I even myself, I was surprised as I scanned the Curling Zone site, which if you haven't been there, you know, some people have gone directly to YouTube to get this, which is fine. But if you go to Curling Zone, you know, it gives you a profile of the events and the games that are taking place. And then in the scoreboard, beside every score, that has a YouTube link for, you know, you're able to go and view the video. There's just so many of them now. It's amazing. It used to be the odd time you'd see 1 or 2, and now there's 12, 15. You know, you can click anything, and you can go back and forth between different games in different events in different parts of the world. I mean, there's one going on in Switzerland right now, so it's absolutely amazing. I'm just so excited about how that's all developing.
So Sasaki just lining up to get rid of 1, potentially 2 of these guards. You see that line might just be just a straight peel, but yeah, just trying to remove some of this blue granite and continue the game on.
Yeah, I don't know that it's possible to make the double because you don't want to leave your shooter. The goal here will be to get rid of a blue and also to have your shooter go away. As I said before, the fewer rocks, the better in this situation. So, yeah, straight peel.
And we have a result here in the other quarterfinal. Team Kang out of Korea has taken down Kristen Ryan's rink out of Maple Ridge, BC, 6-4. That was after 7 ends. In fact, you can kind of see the scoreboard once the camera flips back to face the shooter on the left-hand side. But 6-4, 2 in the 7th end from Kang was enough to see them advance to the semifinal stage.
Yeah, these teams won't get much of a break because the winners will have to play again relatively soon. Time to stretch and have a meal, and then away we go.
So Blue again pouncing on that 1-2 guard area just to keep something nice and high. Looking to have that draw at the end here to force an extra end.
I like how they're being so careful to keep it as high as they can, but still sweeping it to get it over the hog line. So
yeah, that
was a very well thrown rock. It's not easy to throw high guards. It's one of the, people look at that and think, oh, it's not as far, so it's got to be easy, but it's not. It's a really tough shot to play the exact right weight.
And it's a lot about the patience of the sweepers too. It's you know, it's living a little bit on the edge of chaos and just having that understanding it's going to be okay, and just trying not to oversweep it as best you can. Be patient. Just be patient with it, and they are there for sure.
I don't know if you ever. Sorry, just a sec.
Yeah, you're okay. It's been a long game. It's been a long game. We've been talking quite a bit. So.
Sorry. Oh, I'm still doing it.
No, it's okay. You're good. We have Team Sasaki coming up here.
Need to find my kill switch here.
Second stone here from the skip, who's throwing third and trying to just sort of remove this rock from play, get a big enough roll, and they do. Keep things opened up.
You know what? That was a lovely shot, and again, the goal is take it out and roll away so that you minimize the amount of options. And with this long guard now, I mean, it is possible to draw around it, but it's a long guard, so even if they do throw a beautiful shot, it's possible for the other team to come right around and follow, really, the draw that they see. So the key here will be to be paying attention to the ice so that you know exactly what line to pick. What I was starting to say about how difficult it is to throw long guards that are close to the hog line. I don't know if you've ever had some of these opportunities in your own club, Marty, with fun spiels and games and things, where we had one where there were 4 teams, 4 times 8, so 32 curlers, and the challenge was each player on the team throws 1 rock, and you've got to try and stop the rock on the hog line. You get a point if you throw the rock on the hog line with sweepers. So there were 32 curlers, each had 1 shot. How many do you think managed to put a rock on the hog line?
Oh wow!
Do you want to guess?
Out of how many?
32.
I'd say 2.
Yeah, the answer is 1.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. Now there were a bunch of people who were really, really close. Like the game was, if it's not on the hog line, like touching the hog line, you don't get a point. So there were a lot within like 3-4 inches, say. But just everybody thinks, oh, how hard can that be? Well, it's really hard to throw it because you throw it soft, and you hope your sweepers will do the right thing. And the odd time we had sweepers who'd swept it too much and it went too far. So it was really fun. It was an exciting little thing to try. The challenge.
Great.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, that was a distraction.
No,
we're down to skip rocks. We have 2 yellows and 1 blue yet to come. The team with the yellow rock, Sasaki from Japan, has hammer, which is very, very nice given that they also have a 1-point lead.
So this shot will be quite interesting. Sasaki electing to potentially come right down to that blue, I think. Come right down to the blue that's on the button, right?
I think so.
It's going to be pretty precise, and it looks close.
This is a great shot.
They want that to roll. So blue has the opportunity here in Team Park's final shot. Of course, they need to be shot, but they need it covered. So, yeah, that might be the play there. Just kind of come either corner frozen to yellow and hope that you're shot, or just come right around.
It's definitely a discussion. I don't know if it's possible to freeze and get the benefit of the connection with the yellow rock and be shot, because you have to be shot or else this is all over. So I think they're wiser if they just try to outdraw and hide and then hope for the best.
Yeah. Difficult position for sure.
Yeah. If because wherever blue is, if they're visible and they can be removed, yellow, Team Sasaki with the yellow rocks with hammer, they don't have to score.
Yeah. Yep, they can just peel it away.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You get rid of this last blue rock wherever it is, then the game's over and you're fine.
And that might be why you have to draw.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to be shot. I mean,
Yeah, shot. Yeah, you have
yeah,
to be. Yeah, you have to just be in there because it's just because if you are shot and you are melded to that yellow rock, this team can make that go away in a heartbeat. Sure.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so you just have to be just about there. That seems like as good a call as any at this point. Final stone here for Team Park. Of course, they need to be shot stone. Tie this up, potentially send it to an extra here as they try to get into the semifinals in Vernon.
They are having a chat. I'm not sure why they're like.
Maybe they're electing the hit and roll. Maybe is that what the call is? Again, we were just lamenting over the break about how David and I really struggled to see exactly what kind of calls are on this ice when you just sort of see the broom and the angle is hard to sort of see the exact weight that these players are kicking out with. But this might be the hit and roll.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell. Because this also would be, I think, just about perfect ice for a draw. So, so we have to judge it based on the weight. But they throw such lovely finesse weight hits that it's almost hard to tell as they're coming at us what they're doing.
Final stone here for Team Park. Most importantly, they need to be shot stone at the end of this. Pulling it a little tight. They might like the line here, though. Now the key is the roll off of this yellow rock. They're going to get a thin part of it, and it's going to roll just past where that guard is. So now Team Sasaki just needs to clear that blue rock out to book a spot in the semifinals here in Vernon.
Yeah, you notice I don't know if it was strategic, but my guess is they strategically put the target rock onto this side of the ice because this is the side that's giving them headaches a little bit with the rock drifting a little bit, especially when you throw hit weights. You notice the broom is dead center of the rock. They're not expecting it to move much at all.
Final stone here from Team Sasaki and their fourth, Ari Ogahara. Right on it here to keep it straight. That's usually a good design if you've got ice like this. And why not stick the hit just for fun? Yellow scores 1, make it 6-4 for Team Sasaki. They move on to the semifinals here at the Prestige Hotels and Resorts Curling Classic. David, your final thoughts on this one?
No, a great game. I was glad to see it. It seemed like the level of concentration and accuracy stepped up a notch in the second half. They all knew that they had a chance to bring this game home. Interestingly, now these teams have played twice in this event and they're 1-1. So hopefully this rivalry will continue and we'll see them again against each other in the future. It's been a pleasure, Marty.
Yeah, it has. Thank you, David. Yeah, for David, myself, and everyone here at Curling Zone, Curling Stadium behind the scenes here, thank you so much for tuning in. David's got to get to a game here, I think, another call here for Martinsville, so appreciate the time. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Again, final score, Sasaki 6, Park 4. Sasaki moves on to the semifinals.